Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via Livestream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpru.com.
Good evening. Welcome to Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier. Excited to be back with you this evening. Always look forward to Tuesday evening because it's an opportunity to just kick back and chat about small business with some small business leaders, experts, and really just talk about kind of some of the things that they learned throughout their leadership journey that could be helpful for both you and me as business owners as we traverse our leadership journey as well. Each week we have a tremendous guest and someone who has a different area of expertise and has demonstrated different styles and styles of leadership. And this evening, we have John Harmon, who's really taken his life's work as a mission to help Black business owners throughout the state of New Jersey. And through that process, he's really done some great things. So very excited to have him on. This is, a little bit like James Brown. He's like the hardest working person in New Jersey. And let me invite him onto the show now. Hey, John, how are you doing this evening?
I'm well, Andrew. I chuckled when you said one of the hardest working men in New Jersey. They say when you love what you do, you're not working. So I really love what I do. I love the people we serve, and we have an amazing staff here at the chamber, and they make life a little easier for me.
Okay, no, excellent. No, I definitely, you have a great team. I still don't know how you do all the events you do because it seems like you do one every week, but you do a lot of things to support your members and support their success, which is really great. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to hang out with me this evening. And, really look forward to just chatting about things that could be valuable to other entrepreneurs and business owners as they tackle the challenges that they have and, be able to better prepare for them and overcome them. Sound good?
Well, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So why don't we start out by just taking a few minutes to sort of talk a little bit about your journey, where you started, how you got to be here, because, we've got quite a few people who listen in and, we're international now because we've got a guest from Venezuela. So
wow.
We've got a greetings from Venezuela. So thank you for joining us.
Well, you tell them to send us some oil over here because the prices are going up.
Hey, well, I'm sure he'll do what he can do, but
yeah, that's fair enough.
So cool. So yeah, take a minute, talk, share a little bit, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about economic empowerment.
Well, my story is pretty simple. I'm one of 7 kids born in North Trenton, New Jersey, and grew up in a row home. Neither of my parents completed high school, kind of working class neighborhood and family. I'm the youngest of 5 boys and 2 sisters. I've since had lost my older brother and my older sister. So now it's 5 of us, but I'm the only one to complete college. But college was not initially on my radar. I wanted to be an auto mechanic and diesel mechanic, and I did achieve both. I went to school and I learned how to work on cars and trucks, and kind of stumbled into college a year after graduating from high school, and went on to complete a junior college degree, and then went on to Fairleigh Dickinson University and graduated there. And that really changed my life, Andrew. I was fortunate enough to be asked to interview for a management training program at a bank in New York, and the program was designed to produce bank presidents. The application, there were 151 applicants, I'm sorry, and I was selected one out of the 12. And through that journey, I worked in every aspect or every department of the bank, and the bank was subsequently sold after working there for about 3.5 years. And so I never fulfilled my dream of becoming a bank president. I worked at that institution for another year or so, and then I was tapped to work for a larger bank, which was Chemical Bank, which is now known as J.P. Morgan Chase. I ran loan production for Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey. And I kind of stumbled in the Chamber of Commerce business. There were a group of Black people that were looking to start an organization to help Black people in Trenton. They landed on a Chamber of Commerce. And I, at the time, was the 21st founding member. So that means that they had already established who was going to be in the leadership roles. And I prayed at each meeting as a chaplain. And the organization was founded in 97, 99. The president at the time decided to do something else. I became president by default. So the point being is that you can support someone else's vision, and your value or contribution to that vision could help it become what that person originally envisioned it to be. And that's my story. So I was president of the Metropolitan Trenton African American Chamber for 10 years. And then I founded the new African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey in 2007. And now we're in our 15th year. In June, will make 25 years that I've been in the chamber business. I'm on a number of boards, the National Black Chamber, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which really helps me to understand the chamber business, both from a mainstream America perspective, as well as Black America. And I bring those best practices and experiences back here in New Jersey. I serve on a number of boards, publicly traded boards. Investors Bank is one. I'm also on the board of Hackensack Meridian Health, Junior Achievement, Rutgers Business School. The list goes on and on. I'm on the board of an energy company. So I keep myself pretty busy, but through all those experiences, I've learned how to leverage those experiences to provide value for the members of our organization.
Okay, no, that's outstanding. I'm sure everybody now can see why you are the hardest working man in New Jersey. So, definitely hit on some key things. One huge thing, I've got a son in college now, and education's like really different now, and going to school and college and, training programs and other things. Not everybody can afford to go to college now. And sometimes college isn't always the best solution. And, I know you guys have some training programs and other programs and activities that you partner on to provide opportunities to young people. Is that correct?
Yes, and in my little intro, I failed to mention that I own my own transportation company for 16 years, and I kind of followed in my father's footsteps for that. Yes. So in terms of young people, they represent our future. We have a first book program that we started back in 2014, and since COVID, we have not been able to really distribute books, but in the span of maybe 5 years or so, we gave out over 500,000 books to kids across America and across New Jersey. I'm sorry. Very excited about that. We have a coding program that we work with Bristol Myers Squibb, who funds that program. We also have a number of sponsors for our youth leadership program that we do with high school students, really helping position them for their next steps in life. So we're always trying to work to help that next generation. We have a number of colleges and universities that are members of the chamber, so we get an opportunity to engage with those institutions to share stories with young people, ask their questions, and help better prepare them for their next journey in life. And, when I was coming up, we didn't have access to the resources or an organization like the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. And so that in itself makes me proud. And that's our way of, giving back. We have two young folks that work here. One is a senior in high school, and one is in her first year of community college. And these two young ladies work here every day, and they contribute to the success of our organization. Proud of that.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I mean, definitely young people are the future. And, nowadays, sometimes they know more than us about what's going on, especially on the technology side. So it's good to have some young people around.
Absolutely.
So cool. So, definitely want to get into talking a little bit more about economic empowerment. But before we do that, I got a couple quick messages and updates. If whoever wasn't with us on the first of the month, we had some really exciting news, and that is our guest Tyrone Taborn. He and his company created a metaverse, and we're live on the metaverse, STEM City USA. Check out the metaverse, www.stemcityusa.com. John, you may actually know Tyrone Taborn or know of him. He his company runs the Black Engineer of the Year conference out of Baltimore for like 20 years.
That's a pretty big deal, man.
Yeah, so he's big time and doing great stuff, and appreciate the opportunity to be on his metaverse. So definitely, we should be learning about the metaverse and all the things that are coming. So that was a great episode. And also, the show is brought to you through the Small Business Pro University. So just want to make sure everybody knows what the Small Business Pro University is. So we're just going to do a quick 1-minute video, and then I'll be back with John, and we'll talk about economic empowerment. Thanks.
Do you own your business, or does it own you? Is your business growing, and are you making enough money? As a business owner, there are so many things you need to know to become more successful. Hello. My name is Andrew Frazier, the Business Growth Pro and CFO. I created the Small Business Pro University for you. Small Business Pro University has self-paced, dynamic, multimedia learning experiences created by more than 20 instructors who are business owners just like you. Small Business Pro University will empower you to become a masterpreneur by learning the secrets to creating a successful enterprise, to go from working in your business to working on your business. Take advantage of our strategic coaching program, or just simply choose the courses that you need at www.sbprou.com. We will empower you to thrive and not just survive, and make more money in any business environment.
Hey. Welcome back to Leadership Live at 805 Talking Small Business. I'm here with John Harmon, CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey, and I want to just chat with you a little bit about leadership. You've learned a lot of things through your journey from school to corporate and banking to having your own business to running an organization and growing an organization. Tell me a couple of the key things that you've learned going through that, because that experience in itself is a journey. But what are a couple of the key things that you take away and focus on in terms of helping you be a better leader and be more successful?
Well, there's a lot of things. One, you have to be humble. God keeps me humble. And I acknowledge that in my life, but through faith, I believe all things are possible. And if you have a plan, you've tested your plan, and the plan, the results of those tests say that the plan will work, all that's needed then is the faith, the muster, the courage to get it done. You have to believe in yourself. And then if you're managing people or have people reporting to you or work for you, you have to realize that everybody has value and they deserve to be appreciated. And you must show them that appreciation and make sure that you have a work environment where their talents and abilities are on full display and or recognized. And you also have to be focused. You can't be all things to all people, and you got to be relevant. If you're running an organization that has a mission, the mission has to be relevant. You can't be building a bridge to nowhere. So when we look at the 1.2 million Blacks in New Jersey, the over 80,000 Black businesses, and you see that we have the highest poverty, the highest unemployment. 93% of our businesses are sole proprietorship. Our net worth is $5,900 versus $315,000 for whites. And you happen to be the person that is leading that organization. You have to connect the dots and be able to show to the broader society that within that demographic, there's still people that have value. There's still people that need to be heard from. And there's still people that could make a difference to make the state more competitive. So it took me a while to fully appreciate the gravity of what this mission is all about. And you have to be ever learning. You have to be a student of your craft. And so you got to read, you got to ask questions, and you can't fake it. If you don't know something, you got to figure it out. And lastly, you must be credible. And you can't say something to one person and something different to another person. At the end of the day, it all comes down to doing what you say.
Okay. Strong words and important words. I mean, those are things that are critical. And the last one, credibility, is key, because if you're a business owner, at the end of the day, people do business with you because they know, like, and trust you. So if you're not credible, it's unlikely that they're going to trust you. It's unlikely that they're going to like you. And it would probably be better if they didn't know you. So you can start again. So, all those things are key. So now you mentioned something important. And I think, one of the things that is key for me too is, there's a big differential in the African American community. And I don't believe that it could be made up any other way than through entrepreneurship. I'm not sure your thoughts on that, but talk a little bit about what entrepreneurship means to the community and why it's so important.
Well, I mean, so I agree. Entrepreneurship is very significant, right? And the other point that I may have left out is not about me. It's never been about me. I just happen to be the person that's leading the organization. But if you look back, if we're coming from this from the perspective of Black people, we've always been entrepreneurs. We built this country. 1863, we were emancipated. 1865, 200,000 of our family members were later emancipated. But then, 35 years after that, Booker T. Washington founded the Negro Business League. 40 chapters between Maryland and Texas. That was all about entrepreneurship, free enterprise. That is the way of life in America, capitalism. And so early on, Booker T. Washington adopted that as a way of life. And a number of the students and or participants in that model went on to Greenwood, Oklahoma to establish Black Wall Street. And you know the story about that. So Black people building America from an infrastructure, all the major public institutions in Washington, the Capitol, the White House, so on and so forth. Black men and women build those institutions. Benjamin Banneker laid out the grid, if you will, for Washington, D.C., was an astronomer. He had a vision. He looked at a man's pocket watch and then went back and carved out a replica out of wood. So it's in our DNA to be entrepreneurial. Now, some people, as we matriculated through life and came up around the 60s, some people chose the civil service route. It was a little more safer, but they too was able to create a middle-class life for themselves and get pensions and so on and so forth. So no matter which lane you choose, entrepreneurship, or choose to be a professional or blue-collar worker or skilled worker, you still must have a plan. You still must save, you still must budget, you still must have a vision for you, and if you have a family, for them as well. So it's it doesn't matter which path you choose. I agree that if you want to create wealth, the entrepreneurship path is probably the more productive route to achieve that. But whatever you do, particularly if you're Black, do it with excellence, because there's a perception about you, about me, and others that look like us, that we're less than, that we cannot meet the value proposition. We cannot execute with excellence, with efficiency, with innovation. And so that's my words back to you. We're great when we just show up. But at the end of the day, we still have to live in a world where we're continuously marginalized.
Mm-hmm. And definitely excellence is key. One of the taglines for my companies was the pursuit of excellence never ends, because like you said, you have to continually learn and get better. Things are changing faster than ever. And one of the things about even though we're talking some about Black entrepreneurship, Black business is business. So all the things that Black businesses need to do, all businesses need to do. And the primary difference that I've found is many times Black businesses, as well as women businesses and minority business, may have more challenges or may have to do more to get to the same place. But from a business standpoint, everything that John said are things that will help you as a business owner. So now we've talked a little bit about leadership, but as far as Black businesses and just businesses in general, what are the key challenges or mistakes that you see them doing? Because sometimes you learn more from a mistake or not doing it right than from doing it right. So what are what are some of the key mistakes that sometimes business owners make, or that you have made and learned from?
Well, I think the reason we established the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey is because we realized that Black people have talent, Black people have something to contribute, but many of them are not aligned with the vehicles that's going to enable them to get the market with their product or service, or get into the right conversations with the people that have the resources or the opportunities and or information to contribute to their success. So in some, they have to invest in their vision. They have to invest in their business. So that means taking the subscription with organizations like the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey that can lend value. So corporations have lobbyists to assist them, athletes, entertainers, have business agents. These are representatives that execute things on their behalf, make introductions on their behalf. They're to nurture, to mentor, to support. And so I would say to you that many Black businesses are not connected to what I would deem as the axis that will lend to some success. And so we, through the chamber and through our strategic partners or within our ecosystem, we're able to intersect. We're able to be the bridge to forge those relationships that will connect you to the resources, opportunities, and information. And so there's some people who feel as though they don't want to invest or take a subscription because they want to go at it alone. And President Obama said no one's successful on their own. And so, and then there's sometimes, stinking thinking, I call it. We hate each other. If a Black person is doing it or part of it, maybe I'll go another way. Now, that's your prerogative. But I would submit to you, in my experience, that way of thinking is not productive. And that's not the type of thinking that we subscribe to here. I believe we're better together. United we stand, divided we fall. And so those are just a few things that I would kind of react to that question with.
Okay, no, that's great. I mean, at the end of the day, nobody does it alone. You talked about being humble. It's critical if you're going to move forward and be successful. And, you've had some tremendous success and made some tremendous inroads. And I still remember several years ago, I went on the Walk to Washington. And
Right.
That's an event sponsored by the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce. And it's really a walk to Washington where you're on an Amtrak train and the whole train is full of business people, politicians, movers and shakers in New Jersey. And you just network all the way down. You go to a dinner, huge dinner with the congressmen and senators. And then you come back doing the same thing on the train. I met so many great people. That's where I met Dale Caldwell and others. And I just remember there was a stage and there were like 100 people on the stage. And you were the only Black person on the stage. It was like, it was, it's great to see that you're able to be in places to represent and share perspectives and which is important. So definitely appreciate that. One of the things that you talked about is, business people need to make connections, and many business owners are a little bit timid. And at the end of the day, your business is going to survive on your ability to market and sell. So
Yes.
If you want to be successful, you have to get over the timidity. And I would say African Americans tend to be more timid than many others, especially engaging outside of their normal community. And that's why it's important to be part of chambers. That's why I started the Power Breakfast about 10 years ago. I can't believe it's been 10 years, but we've had over 1,000 attendees, and really created over $10 million in economic opportunities, as well as help people get over $10 million in financing, directly as a result of participating. So definitely exciting. We have our next one coming up this month, and I'll share more about that later. But what are some things that you do and your organization does to make the connections and help people be able to, feel comfortable and do a better job at marketing and selling so they can be more successful in business?
Well, one of the things, a constant thing that plays in my head, and a friend shared this with me, it's not about who you know, but ultimately who knows you. And you must always keep that in mind. And you referenced me being on the dais at that event. And it's important that I'm Black, no matter what audience I'm in. It's who I am, and I don't run from who I am and what I represent. But it's also important that once you get inside the door, you don't close the door behind you. I am hopefully representing or positioning the next Black person to succeed me or to succeed other Black people, to perpetuate what we've established. If you're in business and you want to be successful, clearly you can't go at it alone, but it's all about relationships. You must find relationships with those where there's a mutual benefit. It's not fair if you get everything out of the deal and they get nothing. So in other words, if you have value and you can articulate value and or demonstrate that you have value in a credible, meaningful way, those relationships will come, but you have to put yourself in the way. So if you go to an event, just for an example, and let's say you walk in the room and there's already 50 people in the room, prior to arriving there, you should have had a goal in mind. Who I want to meet, or who would I like to meet me, right? It's not about you, but if you have a business or product or service, it's about that. And connecting your objectives with someone who could potentially help you realize your objectives, and or if they have objectives and you can help them do the same. And the first $1 million is the most difficult. Just like the first relationship you make is the first difficult. First kiss is the most difficult. That's what Chris Rock said, right? But ultimately, they get easier. And the same thing about business. It gets easier. So you got to muster the courage. Listen, you got a product or service, you've made an investment to do this. They're not going to sell or execute on their own. You got to make it happen, period. You got to shoot the ball in order to score points.
There you go. And, one thing is, sales and marketing is so important to the success of your business, but most business owners don't realize that that's their most important job, and that's what they should spend a lot of time doing. And even worse than that, most of them never ever had any training or learned how to sell or market effectively. So they're basically out there winging it, and that's their livelihood. Are you going to should you be? So, it's the things that you're doing, the things to help people be able to, get comfortable, learn how to market and sell effectively. And I think you hit on the first part is you got to go out and meet people and have a plan to meet them. But, one of the most, if you only do that, nothing's going to happen if you don't follow up. And
you gotta follow up your close. So, to that point, I would say 98% of the people, they get people's cards, they go back, put them on the desk, throw them in the garbage, write on them. But if you don't follow up, you might as well stay home. The other point I'm making, I'll let you go to your question. Let's say, and I see this a lot where you come to an event with 3 or 4 people, and you sit with those 3 people, 4 people the whole night. You could have did that at the house, right? You already know them. And so you can have a strategy where each person take one section of the room, and then at the end of the night, you get together, you exchange cards, you exchange information. But if you just hobnobbing with people you already know, you could stay home.
Well, but those are the people who already made their millions and are making millions. So that's why they're hanging out with their friends. Well, that's what you're supposed to do when you've made your millions. Unfortunately, sometimes we get ahead of ourselves, but that's okay. But I think that we've hit on some key things. We're gonna take a look at some additional stuff, but I just want to take a minute out. I mentioned we have an upcoming Power Breakfast, and March 24th, and it's going to be really powerful because actually we're doing a Power Breakfast and conference, so it's a full day, and really looking forward to doing some great things there. So, we have the one and only Precious Williams, who's going to be our keynote for the luncheon. Yeah. She's the killer pitch master. She's outstanding, and she's going to be talking about pitching for profits, and her skills, and she'll have some valuable things to share. One of your partners, John Kennedy, CEO of NJMEP, he's going to speak at the breakfast on basically leading in a challenging business environment. And we're going to have 2 panels. I'm going to do a panel on accessing capital in the current environment, because that's very important because the landscape has changed a lot. And then I've got Jimmy Newson, the impact influencer, and he's going to talk about what every business owner needs to know about digital marketing. So, we've got a action-packed day with some really sharp people and an opportunity to learn a lot. And, it's convenient in Kenilworth, New Jersey. So definitely invite people to check it out. And, if you want to know get a better feel for what is this Power Breakfast anyways, I'm going to show a short video, and then I'll be back with John. We're going to talk more about economic empowerment.
Great.
If you are looking to increase revenues, improve profitability, and or obtain financing for your business, you need to check out the Power Breakfast and Small Business Pro conferences.
My name is Andrew Frazier. One of the things we're here to do is supercharge your day.
Today's Power Breakfast has really been a phenomenal experience. I think it's exactly what business owners need, some true guidance of people who are genuine and really are leading them in the true direction of business growth and expansion.
The Power Breakfast is so important for the entrepreneurial community because it gives the various business people who come together an opportunity to interact and also do some business.
These events, hosted by Andrew Frazier, President and COO of Small Business Like a Pro, will supercharge your day.
Okay, great. Well, welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05. Here's a link for the Power Breakfast as well. Love to see you. Definitely will be worth your while if you can make it out. So, but John, we're talking about economic empowerment. When you're thinking about that, and when you're planning for the chamber, what is the most important thing that you see the need for business owners to have, and what you're focusing on to help them do to successfully move forward?
Well, it depends. We have, businesses that are relatively small, whose revenue may be less than 100,000. And so we have members that have, if you talk about some of our corporate members, several $1 billion. We have Black businesses that, manage billions of dollars and have generate billions of dollars in revenue. So that question is all relative, depending on what the issue is. But at the end of the day, we're working to position businesses for success, whether that means an introduction, giving them some technical assistance support, being an advocate in the public domain as it relates to public policy, sitting down with legislators to help them better understand the significance of crafting legislation that's fair and balanced in this state, and not demonizing business. So we're all about representing our members where they need representation, and that could be from a number of fronts. And I think, everything's important, but it's just a matter of what degree of importance.
Okay, cool. So, there's, two things that I want to hit on that I don't, one thing that you've covered, and you talked about how it's important to demonstrate value and communicate the value that you provide effectively. So that can be a little bit confusing to people, what that really means. Can you give some examples of how that works for certain companies? Because I'm sure you've worked with people who didn't quite have it together, and we're able to help them have it together, even if it's just being able to explain what they do better.
Part of the value is that, as I said before, doing what you say you're going to do. So if I come to you and I say to you that my company can provide a product or service let's say you're responding to a bid opportunity and they give you the scope of work. You in turn have to provide a response to that. And in that response, you'll say, our company can do X, and we can do it for this price, and why our product or service is better because of whatever that explanation is. So you have to substantiate your claim. And I think that's part of that value proposition. If you say you can do it better, equal to or better than the next person, at a price point equal to or better than the next person, you have to demonstrate that. So this is not a complicated situation. It just comes down to really understanding the scope of work that you're responding to, and respond in a way that's going to demonstrate that your product, service, and or ability is commensurate with that's being asked.
Okay. No, that's great. I mean, one of the things I think of when we're thinking about that is the 3 C's. You got to be clear, you got to be concise, and you got to be customer focused. Because you only have so much time that people are going to listen to you, and they're listening for certain cues. I'm not sure about you, but I've run into a lot of business owners when I ask them what to do. 15 minutes later, they're still telling me what they do, but I'm not quite sure still. So, being able to be,
Well, that's why, there are people like you that provide that guidance, provide that service. So if we look through life and our society, there's always an opportunity, and there has to be someone to fulfill that need, right? Or solve that problem, or eliminate that pain. And that's where the opportunities are. I was at American Dream today over there in Rutherford. What an amazing facility. And as I'm about to exit, I see this young kid on this animal-like little ride, and the parents is riding on the back, and I'm saying, wow. why didn't I think of something like that? You know, that person is probably has generated a lot of revenue. But again, they saw an opportunity and they came up with a solution. This massive facility, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of square feet it is, but if you're a parent and you're shopping and you don't want to carry your kid, or you don't want to be looking around to see where they are, put them on a scooter and you can ride together. And the kid is enjoying the experience. You know who the kid is, you're bonding. So that's what business people do. They provide solutions, and solutions turn into revenue and profitability and scalability and employing folks in capacity.
Okay.
So I just thought that was interesting today. Just little things like that.
That's a great example. Because at the end of the day, as a business owner, you have to solve a problem. You're solving a problem, either something that people need, want, or desire. And if what you're not offering is not any of those things, then you're probably not selling too much of what you're offering, and you may need to rethink it, because it's based on what the customer needs and desires, and adding value around that. Definitely we've had a lot of great comments. Keep them coming. Also, if you have any questions you want me to ask John, we got them here, so we may as well take advantage of the opportunity. So definitely, that was, one key thing. One of the things I teach people to communicate better is a 60-second commercial format, just because, if you can't communicate what you're doing in 60 seconds, then it's kind of hard to keep people's attention. So I've set it up just like a Tide commercial. You've watched the Tide commercials, right? And really, they start out with some kid who's muddy, and they show the problem, and then, or the need. They show Tide as the solution. They give an example of clean clothes, and then they do the hard sell, the soft sell with a great ask, and they say, "Doesn't your family deserve clean clothes like the way Tide can get?" Who can say no to that? So putting some thought into how you communicate what you do, so it's a no-brainer to the people who need what you have. And
no, I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yep. So great question about what more could the government do to support Black-owned businesses, but even taking that further, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We might be coming out. We've got a war going on. What should we do as business owners, and also what role should the government play in that, as Black business owners, and also just as business owners in general?
So there's a couple things that come to mind. I know I'll speak specifically about New Jersey. One of the things that New Jersey could do as it relates to Black businesses, something they should have done a long time ago: incentivize Black participation in public sector contracting. And what I mean is, the state should have commissioned and implemented a disparity study like New York to put goals in place. New York now has a 30% minority and women on goal, which resulted in $3 billion last year of contracts to minority and women. So that's one thing that the state of New Jersey could do. Now, the state is doing a lot. I know, working with the PPP program through the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. They work tirelessly to ensure that more Black and brown businesses got grants, got resources. So that on one side, from a government perspective, I thought they did a great job. But to Andrew's point, Black people spend $1.4 trillion annually in America, but Black businesses generate between $200 and $300 billion. So we have a deficit in our own community of north of $1 trillion because we hate each other enough that we're not doing enough business with each other. So I think that's kind of a two-pronged answer. Government could do more. We have to hold government accountable. When is the last time you've been to a city council meeting and asked your local mayor or your city council how much business did they do with Black people? When is the last time you've been to a freeholder or county commissioner meeting and asked the same? How much engagement have you had with state legislators on issues of economics? If you're not a part of the conversation, you're definitely on the menu. And I would submit to you that we as Black people in New Jersey and in America have to be a little more present, have to be a little more succinct in our ask of what we want. But then not just ask what we want, you got to back it up. You got to show up. If 50 Black people showed up at a local city council meeting in their town, oh God, they would think the world is about to come to an end because you're not that present. So how can we allow 4 years to go by in our state and not have the disparity study done? And now we have cannabis come out, and we wonder why there's only one Black license for medical in New Jersey, because we don't have the policy that will support our equity. And so those are things that the African American Chamber of Commerce advocate for every day. Every silo of economic opportunity that occurs in New Jersey, if we represent 14% of the population, give or take, we should have at least 14% of the opportunities. In New Jersey, we're afforded about 1% of public sector contracts. That's abysmal for a group of people that gave 94% of their vote to this administration. Now, I worked with Governor Murphy. I worked with his team of professionals, and we have a good relationship. But there's more that's owed to Black people, and we're working with them as best we can to bring that to fruition in a respectful way. But at the end of the day, we're not getting a good return on investment right now in New Jersey.
Okay, no, that's a great point. I mean, definitely, it's important to do that. One of the challenges we talked about a little earlier is, a lot of our businesses don't go outside of our community, and are thereby limiting the opportunities they have. And a lot of things you do sort of help to encourage that. What do you find as the biggest impediment to people expanding outside of the community?
Well, it's all about familiarity, right? People do business with people they know. But back to the early example, if we're spending $1.4 trillion, we're spending with somebody. And a lot of it's being spent in our own neighborhoods. We don't own the local stores like we used to. We don't own the local restaurants like we used to. And so that's a challenge of having that dollar recycled in the community if you wanted to go to Black businesses. So you need to own your community, but also penetrate other markets. And I think that's the point you want to make. Like the United States is 5% of the world's population. So that means that there's 95% of opportunity and or people outside of the United States. And this is why there are a lot of folks who do business internationally, because there's another marketplace. So same thing for Black people. You have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to go and do business with people who have the opportunity. whether they be Black or otherwise. And that's what we've done at the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. We realize that Black people as a whole are in a bad place economically. And therefore, we have to align with those who have the resources, opportunities, and or information to mitigate that underperformance. And I think we've done a great job with that. And we continue to build on our success. And people are joining and supporting us because they're getting a return on their investment through their subscription to the African American Chamber of Commerce in New Jersey.
Excellent, excellent. So, one thing that I always hate is an hour goes really fast. So, we're pretty much there. We've covered a lot of great stuff. There's a lot more things we could cover. So we'll have to have you back on the show again. But before we let you go, if you could take a minute, I usually like to have guests share like 3 things that someone should take away, a business owner should take away from this, that they can start to implement tomorrow or even tonight if they're ambitious enough and they're a night owl. So just take a sec, what would be 3 things you'd say, take this away and you should start doing this tomorrow?
Well, I think the first thing is Michael Jackson said, the man in the mirror. You got to look in the mirror and be honest with yourself. Do you have the wherewithal to execute your business plan? If you don't, who can help you get in a better place? That's the first thing. Your business is you. So when you go for a loan, they say, hey, we need you to personal guarantee that loan. If you can't look that lender in the eye and be willing to personal guarantee that loan, they're going to have a perspective about you. They may not say it, but it goes back to what I said earlier. You got to do what you say you can do. And lastly, always execute business with integrity, because integrity is all people are going to remember about their dealings with you.
Those are 3 excellent things. So basically, number 1, you got to own your situation, and you're the man in the mirror that has to, or woman in the mirror, that you have to own your situation. One person who I think was the best example ever of that, who became really successful because of that, is Reginald Lewis. I'm sure you read his book, but
absolutely,
he owned.
Why should white guys have all the fun, right?
Why should white guys have all the fun? But he faced a lot of challenges, but just owned it and really fought as hard as possible to overcome them. And he did something that no one had ever done up to that point, which was really impressive. If you haven't read that, you should, because that's a great book. Anybody out there in the audience. Number 2, you are your brand. So,
absolutely.
You can't separate yourself from the business. So, no matter how hard you try. and
absolutely.
If you're getting financing, you can't separate your spouse from the business either. So even if it's not their business, so just so you know, in case you try to get financing out there, and because we run into that a lot. And then finally, integrity. At the end of the day, integrity is key. So John, you've shared some extremely valuable things. Always appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to hang out. And, I look forward to you continuing to do great things, and we'll have to have you back on. And looking forward to that.
Well, delighted to be here. And the other one is, there's no shortcut to success. I'm delighted to be here, and thank you.
Okay, great. No, and you've got John's organization. The address, the link in the chat, and you can see it right here on the screen. So definitely, if you want to learn more, see about his events, join there's the information. And so, John, hang out for a second. I'm just going to close things out for the show. So, once again, thanks for joining us here at Leadership Live at 805 Talking Small Business. Appreciate everybody joining in nationally, internationally, and all the great feedback and comments that we're gotten. So keep them coming. Definitely each week we have a great, different perspective and different leader who shares about what they're doing and how they run their business or what they've learned in running their business or helping other people. So next week, our guest is Cecile Reed. And we're going to talk about understanding your costs so you can price more effectively. And it's amazing how many business owners don't really know their costs or don't know them in a lot of detail. And most small business owners underprice. So we're going to talk about, how you can understand what your things cost, because that affects your profitability and your level of success. And why are you going to work so hard to not make any money? Because unfortunately, there's a lot of people who are working really hard and really not making much money. So definitely, I think that'll be good for business owners. Cecile's a CPA. She's worked with all types of businesses, and definitely look forward to hearing some more of her expertise. I already shared info about the upcoming Power Breakfast on March 24th here in New Jersey. Definitely welcome to check it out. The link is in the chat. I was telling John earlier that actually he endorsed me in my initial book, but I've added running your small business like a pro. I created a workbook that goes along with it. And also my newest release book is called the Masterpreneur Playbook, How to Master Business Growth from Startup to Scaling. So, if you're looking to move forward with your business, that can help provide some insights and a strategy for doing that that's proven and effective. So, these are the things we do. Want to just create opportunities for entrepreneurs and business owners to be more successful by becoming better business leaders and better business people. So thanks again for tuning in. We look forward to catching you next week. And remember, at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster your business will grow.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 805, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.